Hello, third grade. Welcome back for part 2. We are still using our writer's notebook, and now we're on the second question in our book. And it asked us here to think about, I don't know where that line came from. It's a fancy line. I want it gone. Let's see. It asked us to think about some vocabulary words here. And they called it academic vocabulary. Now, before we can even attempt to use race to answer this question, we need to look at what it is asking us to do. It says in these chapters, the author uses the word dashed. The author also used the word scrambled. And if you like any of these words, go ahead and add them to your vocabulary notebook that you made yesterday. Raced and charged. And stampede. A lot of words. Okay. The author did use all of those words, and we paid close attention to them. We practiced our strategy, and we were word aware of them when we read those chapters yesterday. Do these academic words all mean the same thing? Do they mean the same? I don't know. Let's see. Why or why not? We have to write because. Remember that. And we have to use evidence. It talks about using evidence from the text. Woo! This is going to be a long answer. Good thing we have that race strategy to help us. So let's examine these words. We're going to analyze. What do they mean the same thing? What do you think? Dash, scrambled, race, charged. I think they are very similar. We could say that they are synonyms of each other. Synonyms are words that are they share like a common definition, okay? They share like a common definition. They can mean the same thing, not exactly the same thing, but they're very similar, okay? Okay, they're from the same flavor of ice cream. So, if we said they are the same, which I think that you're going to say that they're the same too, we have to find evidence to support that. So do they all mean the same thing? Why or why not? And I have to use evidence from the text to support that. So make sure you have your book handy. Let's see if they use dash. They use dash on page. They use dash and they use scrambled on page 41. And I'm just going to read the sentences that they're in. So it says that Annie and Jack dashed down the hill. Or Jack and Annie dashed down the hill. I'm going to go ahead and write the sentence for you. Jack and Annie dashed. I'm going to underline that. Down the hill. All right, let's see how they use scrambled. They scrambled up the rope ladder and tumbled into the treehouse. They scrambled up the rope ladder. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to write that whole thing. Let's see how they used raced. Let's see. Raced is on page 43. So I'm going to go ahead and take notes here because you might want to use these page numbers to cite your evidence. So this was on page 41 and this was on page 41. On page 43, it says, Jack raced past the pteranodon, through the ferns, through the tall grass, and up the hill. I'm just going to write that first part. Jack raced past the pteranodon. Pteranodon. All right, and that was on page 43. Charged. Let's find charged. I recommend rereading this chapter because it's going to be helpful. He charged down the hill. He charged down the hill. This is on page. If it doesn't have a page number, you just look at the one ahead of it and then count up. This was 43, so this must be 44. He charged down the hill. Oh, one last word. They also used raced another time here too. It says he raced up the hilltop. I could have added that to this section, but I think that's enough information. He raced up the hilltop. And let's see, I need to find the stampede. I know it was the part where he was a little nervous about the Anatosauruses. He said the Anatosauruses might stampede. So I'm going to put the Anatosauruses, and this was on chapter 8. Anatosauruses might stampede. And that was on page 47. Wow. Took a lot of notes here. I'm going to move some of this so you can see. So, I think this is enough evidence from my text to start really looking at answering my question now. I'm going to go back to my question. So, Jack and Annie dashed down the hill. They scrambled up the rope ladder. They raced past the pteranodon. He charged down the hill. The Anatosauruses might stampede. What do all these words have in common? So you have to say, why? Or why not? Maybe you don't share that. Maybe you don't think they are in common. But if you don't think they have anything in common, then you need to tell me why. Okay? Because that's also in our question. It says, why not? So if you said no, well, why not? Okay? So what do all these have in common? I want you to decide. He dashed down the hill, scrambled up. What definition do these words share, okay? Are they truly synonyms? Do you think that they are alike? Do they have similar meanings? If I said he stampeded down the hill, would that be the same as saying he charged down the hill? If I wanted to replace scrambled with dash, they dashed up the rope ladder, would that be the same as saying scrambled? Could I put scrambled up here with dashes? Jack and Annie dashed down the hill. I could say Jack and Annie scrambled down the hill. Would that make sense? And would it have similar meaning? Jack, if I replace charged with raced, Jack charged past the pteranodon. Would that have similar meaning? Would the sentence still mean the same thing? Or would the meaning of the sentence change? So you decide. And I cited this evidence here so you can use it. So let's look at our question. Oops, that's from earlier today. I'm going to go back here. Let's look at our question. And we're going to remember to use race. So first thing we're going to do is restate and answer. Okay, so I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Actually, I might make race right here so we can walk through it as we go. We have to restate and answer. So, do these academic words all mean the same thing? Get rid of do. And in place of why or why not, cross that out and put because. That's what we're replacing that with. Remember I've taught you that? Whenever you see why, put because, okay? Or write it to the side because you know you're going to have to use it. So let's see if we can use some. What's left over? What can we use to build our sentence? Let's look at this. We can use, I love that blue color, we can use academic words, right? All mean the same thing. First of all, you might have to answer your question to start this sentence. Or you could say, these academic words all mean the same thing because, or you could say, these academic words do not mean the same thing because. So you can start it off like this. I actually used a lot of that. These academic words all mean the same thing or do not mean the same thing. So I'm going to leave this one open. So I want you to decide, do you think they're synonyms of each other? These academic words all mean, do you think they all mean the same thing or do not, okay? And then I'm going to write the same thing. So in that blank part, you have to write these academic words all mean the same thing or do not. So it's either all or do not mean the same thing, okay? It's up to you. You have to decide. Whatever you decide, you have to back it up with evidence, okay? And you're going to write because. Because, and this is when you can cite that evidence. Remember it said use evidence right there? We're going to cite our evidence. It's telling us to use race. So we're on the CE portion of race. So because we can say on page, we can use this one again. I love that one. Do you like that one? I like that one too. Or you could use other ones like the author states, according to chapter 7 and 8, you can write. Once you start writing like this, you are really going to impress people. I'm telling you. They're going to say, wow, is he a third or is he or she a third grader or a fifth grader? I'm confused here. They're writing so great. I'm telling you, you're going to impress people with this strategy. So we wrote down our page number, so I'm just going to use the on page again. And I think I put it right here. So let's see, we can use one of these page numbers. I just wanted to show you again. So I'm just going to fill that in, but I'm not going to go ahead and write the whole thing. Because on page, and you can write whatever page number you want where your evidence is, right here. Because on page 45, it says, or it states, it shows, okay? But we're going to say says because we were looking at the words. You might need to use 2 page number. On pages 41, 42, what other page numbers did we get from that? On page 41, 43, and 44 and 47, we can say those words were used, if you said they were similar, the words were used in the same way, or all the words meant to move very fast or quickly. So you have to decide. All right? Remember, you need to cite and then you need to support your evidence that you cited, okay? So these academic words all or do not mean the same thing because on page blah, 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 it says, or remember, you can use any of these. Because in chapters 7 and 8, well, I even like that one better. You could even say because in chapters, get rid of this, 7 and 8, The author used the words to show that the characters were moving quickly, maybe. You decide. I'm going to see a very, very nice sentence here. That is all for today. This is all you have to do. You just have to answer these two today. So if you haven't done that first one, you need to go back and do that. And I'm going to post this to help you. So you might want to use the explain here too. That means, or I can tell that, you can see that it is clear that my reasoning is. So you could even say, like in chapter 7 and 8, the author uses those words to show us that the characters are moving quickly. This tells me that they mean the same. You decide. You have your own words. My words might be a lot. Might be too wordy for you. You decide what you want to write. And make sure you're checking your cups. Make sure your sentences make sense. That and that you're using uppercase letters when you have to, especially for those proper nouns, and you're using correct punctuation, and you're doing your best guess spelling. Stretch those words out. All right, third graders, I can't wait to see your responses.